Okay, welcome to this morning's weekly Saturday morning show. Today we're going to be talking about resetting the clock. No, the clocks are not going back and forward, and all the rest of it.
Not quite yet.
Start of the year.
Yep.
And it's also resetting the clock for the time to how to relaunch your home for the new year's selling success. I mean, this could apply to any time, couldn't it, Richard?
Yeah, I think obviously if you're struggling, if your property's been struggling on the market, and there could be a number of different factors obviously affecting that, but you could always have a reset and kind of look at it again with your agent, or potentially change your agent. We're going to talk about that today as well.
Most people tend to focus on the new year as the start of everything. But
Yeah,
really, it doesn't make any difference. You could start anything anytime you want. I purposely start things before the start of the new year. Because I'm thinking to myself, if I start at the beginning of the new year, you know what happens. It's just
yeah,
everybody does it and we're all into it. And it's kind of that thing that I think you're less likely to continue to do it if you start it at the beginning of the year than actually start it before the beginning of the year. I
yeah. I
think you're
think
more likely if you
that
start
makes sense.
before the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, because then you've got that momentum. Then once you're in January, you're already in that zone, whereas you're trying to start at the beginning of the year, and
Yeah,
you always kind
but
of
there's
have a
no
react.
doubt when you look at the start of every new year, it brings a new energy really to the property market. So
Yeah,
so if you've had the no luck in selling your home in 2024, well, then probably take comfort in the hope that hope's still on the horizon. Um,
yeah,
I keep saying to everybody every single time. In Fife, for example, we could talk about Fife, Dundee, Glenrothes,
Glasgow.
Glasgow, and Edinburgh, and Perth, and right across Scotland, right across the whole of the UK. But every day, thousands, I would say. If you're talking about 1 million right across the UK, let's take 1 million. Is that 1 million? Yeah, divided by 365. That means every day 2,739 people make a decision to sell their house or to buy a house as
Which is a
well.
lot.
Actually, more people. It's actually 0.9. Divide that by 0.9 to gross that up, because that's the number of sales. The number of people who put their house in the market will be about 3,000 every day, right across the UK. So 3,000 people make a decision every single day. About 2,700 make a decision to buy 3,000. And the difference is it's things like people are moving out the area, they've decided to go into rent accommodation,
Yeah,
deceased estates, unfortunately, that's the way it works. And maybe two people are actually downsizing and they're going into one house because they've met each other for the first time. So both selling
yeah.
their houses. And that's the difference in between what's coming onto the market and what's actually selling. And there's other people that just withdraw from the
Mhm.
market. But I talked about that during the week for the Dundee market and for the Fife market with Craig and Sophie.
Mhm.
So this is the thing we've got to talk about is just take comfort as hope is still on the horizon overall. As the nights get lighter, woohoo, get the
Yeah, I know.
flags out. Somebody actually said the other day on social media, I can't wait for the 22nd of April, something like that. They put a date on it. And I said, and I'm like, why? And it says, because that's when it's actually light after 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, the dark nights and the dark mornings they could have a real effect on people and just everything in general, I think.
Sad syndrome. It's the sad syndrome.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's because you're not getting any sunlight, therefore you're not getting your vitamin D or whatever it is, but you're not actually topping up things like the serotonin because
Mhm.
you're not actually getting that sort of that dopamine hit either. So
Yeah,
you're
you
not
feel
that
unfair
feel good
being
factor.
summer and
I feel sorry for the people that are in places at the top of the world that's like are dark mostly all the time.
yeah, they've got months and months of complete like nighttime. Yeah,
How on earth do people survive?
yeah, I wouldn't like it's crazy.
I know the Shetlanders anyway. When they do the Viking up earlier, and
Mhm.
most of the young guys and girls actually concentrate on getting up earlier. All together, this is the Viking procession and all the rest of it, and burn
Yeah,
the big massive boat, and they build the boat during the year. They get all their outfits. They pay for it all themselves, by the way. It's not
uh-huh.
funded by anybody except them. They get the privilege to do this. You're chosen as the head Jarl, which is in charge of the whole thing. There's hundreds of people involved in this, hundreds of teams of people individually. But the head Yarrow actually goes, and he gets all his own outfit as well. He or she, I'm not
Yeah,
really sure if there's been a she actually. There probably will be soon enough.
possibly. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. But they can outlay something like up to about £8 grand a year. That's a huge amount of money.
It's a chunk of their own money, yeah.
And do you know, when I asked them the question about it, I said, so why do you do all that? Keep us away from the drink.
Keep them occupied.
Honestly, that's what
Yeah.
it was. It's because of when it gets dark at night. It's like, what else is there to do? I mean, and it's cold as well, probably. So that's what it is. It's to keep them from falling into a routine and just going straight down the pub and just getting lashed all the time.
Yeah.
That'll not be good for your kidneys. No good for your life either.
No.
You'll not last very long that way. Anyway, let's talk about property. Get back to that. So we're talking about nights, and it gets warmer. Buyers and sellers start thinking about moving in time for summer. Remember, it's moving time for summer. If you were moving in time for spring, you're too late if you're not in the market, because yeah, basically, excuse the pun, to do with Vikings up earlier and boats and all the rest. No pun intended. So moving in time for summer, and our diaries begin to fill again with valuations and viewings. That's key. That's why you have to say. I mean, it's the Boxing Day bounce. All the websites get, including their own, and all that uplift you get from people. And I'll be honest, we don't. It's not something you want to focus on because it's quite a negative thing. But people tend to split up after Christmas, New Year.
Yeah, you do.
Typically, it's typically to get that out of the way for the sake of the kids. You know, just to give them a nice New Year and a Christmas, and then it's like, right, let's get moving.
I see the same trend.
Sometimes it's out the blue for some people.
Yeah, you see the same trend in the lettings market at this time of year as well.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a buzz as well, and you know, at this time of year. And if you really want a second shot.
Yep.
My teeth back in. Second shot at selling to be a success. This shows it's live, isn't it?
I know.
There's no edits or cutting in this. There's no edits or cutting in this. I'll tell you. Once it's done, it's done. We ain't going back. We ain't pre-recording. We ain't cutting and pasting stuff. It is live on the spot, in the spur of the moment. We'll have questions coming in, or comments coming in as well, down our side of our broadcasting system. Please feel free to stick something in the comments if you want to ask a question. If it's relevant to what we're doing, we'll talk about it now. If it's not relevant to what we're doing, what we'll do is we'll maybe pop on and we'll answer the questions later on to this. But this is all about, you know, launching your home for the new year and selling success. So the burning questions that usually come up are: is it a good idea to take a break from the market? What's the real reason you didn't sell before, and what's your competition now? A lot of people don't think about that. That's quite a really good one. That'll be the second one we'll be talking about, the second question, and all the top tips to go with that. Can you do anything to improve your presentation and chances of sale? And should you stick with your original agent, or is it time for a change? Yeah, it's a valid question, a real valid question.
Yeah. So
it's a question we get asked sometimes once in a blue moon from people. It's like, you know, I'm maybe just going to move to someone else, and I'm like, why would you want to do that? We're doing everything possible. What difference is that going to make? And often, well, I'll tell you often what happens, and we'll talk about this in a bit more detail, but what happens is they go to the other agent, and then what they do is the other agent goes, oh, that's overvalued, straight away. It's not overvalued. It's just there's no the right person in the market to buy at that time. But the other agent then gets a price reduction straight away, and then they sell it. Yeah. And then everybody goes, oh, wow, that other agent sold that property. And it's like, that's because they put the price down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why do you just put the price down now with your existing agent? After all, they're the ones that have done all the work. You can't blame them because they've done all the work. But often, a lot of sellers actually blame the existing agent for the fact that it's no selling, when in actual fact, it's the fact that you're not listening.
Yeah. You're not taking the advice that your original or current agent's given you. Yeah.
They're not listening. They don't want to hear that. But yet they go to another agent and they'll go, yeah, no bother, that's fine, we'll do that. It's like, what?
I just want it sold.
I had it. I want 550. I want 550. I want 550. I'm not getting 550. I'm need to go somewhere else. Go somewhere else that's on at 499. What? Sorry? After me being blunt and saying to the person, you need to reduce this if you want this sold because of the position you've put yourself in. You need to do it. Oh no, I'm not reducing it. And then 2 weeks later, it's on with somebody else that are reduced price. It's sold for 50,000 less. Everybody, they sold it. Anybody could sell it if you keep dropping the price.
Yeah, of course.
It's like bid up TV. Keeps going down.
Yeah.
Eventually, people will jump in, isn't it? The skill is actually getting it down at that value for the entry exit, and then pushing somebody back up, like we did with Blackside. Down at 595, and then pushed it up to 695, 100,000 up again. Added it back on. That's how you do it. That's how to skillfully do it.
Yeah.
But often you get once in a blue moon, as I said, people just don't get it. But let's talk about that later on. So, should you stick with original agent? Yep. And probably the last one we're going to talk about is how can you make your home look like a brand new listing?
Yeah.
That's easy to do if you know how. These are all the big questions that need to be answered. Probably with a cup of your favourite brew. Nobody's going to thank me for that.
I was going to say that doesn't look it. I'm on the coffee. So.
That is the most important thing you could ever do every single day. Cold press juicing.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that's every vegetable and everything you can get in there.
Does not look appealing, but I believe
all the nutrition you could ever want. Yeah, been doing that for 10 years. I'm really a 90-year-old, by the way. Healthy regime. Anyway,
yeah.
Let's talk about step back for the market. Is it really a good idea to take a break, Richard?
Well, is it or is it not? I mean, to be fair, stepping back for the market, and a lot of people might say taking that break for a couple of weeks might give you that time to maybe recharge the batteries and things, formulate a new plan, and make changes and things and have a fresh start. I did notice when we come back from the New Year and Christmas break, and obviously, I keep an eye on like the websites and like lettings and sales, and there was a couple of sales properties by a certain agent, won't mention them, and it was newly listed, like just listed like that day or the day before. And I thought, I've seen that before Christmas, and it was the same listing, same pictures, everything. They're just taking it down and put it back up again. And I'm like, is that really a good strategy? No, in my opinion. But
often some of the I know particularly Google, for example, maybe the website will list it as new. A lot of them don't. I'm sure Rightmove stops you doing that. If you put it on within a certain period of time, Rightmove doesn't treat it listen. Yeah, it doesn't treat it as a new listing. It knows straight away what you're trying to do, manipulate the audience.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, and it keeps the historical information on there about previously listed and all the rest of it. If you've got the wee apps that tell you that. But they're actually quite open about that as well. So is it a good strategy? I'm not particularly sure. Because in that 2 weeks or 3 weeks that you've had it off the market, you've potentially lost the buyers that have actually registered, or they're ready to make a decision, or because when you think about the logic, for example, let's take Fife, 600 sold every single month. So that means if you've got 600 sold every single month on average in Fife, multiplied by 12, 720, divided by 52, that means you've missed out 138 potential buyers every week. So if you keep up for 3 weeks, you're sitting around about just over 400 to 450 potential buyers you've missed out on. It could have potentially looked at your property because it was still on the market in the list, because they change every single day. If you've got 1,000 properties on the market in the Fife area, for example, you can do it for Dundee, you can do it for anywhere else, and you're selling about 550 every month with all the agents. Then you've got around about 2 months worth of stock. So I would say then every 2 months on average, you've got a whole new set of buyers.
Yeah, because the ones for before have moved on, and I think to take it off the market during those 2-3 weeks of Christmas and New Year or into New Year is just crazy, because you might think, oh, everybody's on holiday, but that's when they're going to be sitting on their phones.
You've got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
It's like once Christmas is over, it's like Boxing Day. It's like, oh my God, sit and watch the telly and just scroll on your phone. Perfect opportunity. That's why the Boxing Day bounce.
Yeah,
that's what that's all about. So I definitely think it's not a good strategy, really. But you often do get it from sellers and customers saying, "Oh, maybe I should take a break," and it's like, no, you know where you need to take a break? Up here. That's really what they mean. They don't mean about taking off the market for that. It's the fact that it goes round in their mind over and over
So
and
much, yeah.
over and over again psychologically, and they keep overthinking it and they let it occupy their mind space. They don't just go, well, it'll happen when it's meant to happen because we're doing all the right things. They don't settle with that. They just get so frustrated and they think, we're all like that sometimes. You know, you've definitely got me. I'm that personality type. Is if it's no done in 5 minutes, or I
Yeah,
then think I'll do it myself.
yeah, I know.
So you've got that audience that does that. 25% of that audience actually thinks like that, and then you've got the other ones. You've got the happy-go-lucky people. It's like, well, if it happens, it happens. They're okay with that. They're happy to wait. And then you've got the other people that get worried all the time about, every single little thing. Oh, maybe it's the photographs, maybe it's the description, maybe it's that bit, maybe it's the floor plan, maybe it's a video, maybe it's like, no, it's nothing. It's just the fact that the buyer's known the market at this point in time. That's all it's down to. It's a
You've just
matter of time.
you've just not hit that person that's at the point of readiness. But yeah, the stepping back for the market thing, and whether that I think that strategy of taking off the market, especially at this time of year, isn't it the greatest? But there's no denying that homes that are new to the market always do generate the most interest.
Yeah.
You know whether that's from buyers' searches online or the automatic alerts that go out when new things come on for the property portals, and your agent making all those calls and things initially. There is that initial benefit from becoming new to the market again.
That's why when we take over a property, it's a lot of work to actually get people to see this for the first time again.
Yeah, it's like
from another agent for the first time again in a different light, because you've lost that thunder in the beginning, the first impression thing. So it's actually redesigning the whole campaign to make it look like it is a completely different property, even though they think it. Wait a minute, I think I've seen that before. Well, you haven't. That's the impression.
Well, that's just like what those listings that I've seen in the new year, they were exactly the same as the listings I've seen before. So I was like, it's just exactly.
But you didn't put the same stuff back on again.
Yeah,
that's a crazy thing to do.
And when
what other things we've got to think about then?
Yeah, when property's been on the market for a while and it's been available for several months, it does become a lot less likely to sell, and it either becomes, it fades away into the background a bit. It becomes a bit
56% is the fall through rate goes from like about 95% to 100 days later. If you get a buyer for a property, it goes to 56%. That's the UK statistics.
Yeah,
and I think that's because everybody's jumping it. Buyers, if you've got a pulse, it's like, oh, it's sold. It's like everybody wants to accept their offer, but they wouldn't accept the offer in the beginning. And you've got to understand, just stick to your first thoughts. It's like, no, if it doesn't sound right, don't accept it just for the fact that because your house has been on longer. Take advice from your own estate agent. Obviously, your own circumstances will be different. You might be under pressure because you've gone and committed to buying another property, which is not a great strategy, by the way, because that then puts you under real pressure, and you could end up having to accept the only offer. It's maybe way under, and you've done that to yourself. No one else has done that, by the way. You've done that to yourself as a buyer and a seller. That's not the estate agent's fault. So a lot of the times, the estate agent gets blamed for everything. It's like, my house isn't selling, it's your fault. Okay, but there's nobody inquiring. So, and we've got it on every website. So why would that be the agent's fault? Because they're doing what they're meant to do. They're marketing. Do you want me to drag somebody from the street and force them to buy it?
I mean, there is ways.
You better buy it. You better buy it, pal, or else.
There is ways, obviously, if your property's been on for a long time and it's becoming that kind of, fading into the background type listing. There's ways, speak to your agent, and there is ways to kind of maybe revamp the marketing material or look at your marketing strategy, or even, do a price realignment if it's needed. But that conversation has to be had with your agent. And then
you could get the. I mean, we talked about the stepping away for a short break, but it's got to be a bit longer than a couple of weeks. It's probably got to be about 2 or 3 months to actually possibly get that reset for your home and that shiny new listen badge. Sometimes there's nothing more valuable though than pausing for thought, and having space to think is often the magic ingredient that actually produces the best ideas. Not jumping the gun.
Yeah,
it's not like letting it go in your mind for ages and ages and ages, and then suddenly going, I'm doing it now. It's like, no, wait a minute. Just, get advice from your agent first.
the stepping away for the short break, you know, like you said, for it to actually have an effect, it probably has to be a couple of months, say. But then it depends on the person's circumstances. Are you in a position
Can
where
you
you can
afford to
step
do
away?
that?
Yeah, can you afford to step away for a couple of months?
Can your
So
agent
there's a
afford
lot
to
of
do that?
things they can, yeah.
Can your agent afford to do that? Think about that. Because there's a lot of agents out there that are bargain basement box shifters, and they need the volume. They need you to sell your house pretty quick for them to get a fee, because they've been so low in their fees in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the price you pay for
Nothing
low
to
fee
fall
agents.
back on.
It's like they've got nothing. They can't do anything other than just follow the same pattern every single time. There's no flexible thinking. It's like, we need to get this shifted, we need to get a fee, and if we spend any more time in it, we're losing money. That's the way it works. So pause for thought, speak to your agent, don't go full pelt at them. Obviously, it's been going in your mind for ages, but maybe you've not even had that discussion with them yet. So don't just go on all guns blazing. You know, give it a bit of thought.
Yeah.
So this one then comes then, the next one I would say, and we talked about this, was reviewing the previous feedback and the current competition. For me personally, Richard, the current competition is something you've got to look at all the time. So when you're looking at the price band of your property, then do the same price band on Rightmove or Zoopla or, you know, on the market, do the same price band and find out if what your property is actually competing against at the same price. Because you might find you've got a 3-bedroom now and there's 4 bedrooms going for the same price in the area. And people buy on the number of bedrooms because obviously that gives them the perceived space. They've got more space to use. So they tend to do that. They buy on bedrooms is a big, big thing. It's the first thing everybody does. They immediately go for price banding and then they go bedrooms. That's it.
I think as
So
well, like,
I think.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, obviously you're saying about the comparisons. And when you do an initial valuation and you bring out your evidence and compare it to properties similar in area, if you've been on the market for a little while, that might change slightly. And,
Just do that again.
There might be different comparisons, which might have to think, right, okay, we need to realign here to keep up with the competition.
Good advice is then go back to your agent and say to them, can you do another market appraisal just to see where I stand in comparison to everybody else? Now, we would do that as standard anyway if anybody said that. You know, we wouldn't need people to tell us. If we have this discussion and we're like, we need to do it, well, this is why. So it's just going over it again and saying, now you're competing against with this lot, and there's been other evidence of properties sold in the area, probably significantly less than yours now. So that's affected this valuation now, and people are actually selling their house on newly coming on with types like yours at less of a value than what you've got, because of the other properties have actually sold for less as well. So you have to take stock of that. Remember, when a market goes down, I'm not saying it is going down, but when a market does go down, just be aware of that. Because if yours goes down, guess what? The one that you're buying is going to go down as well. So it's like for like, which makes no difference. And that's the key there. Or if yours has to go down to buy another one, then approach the other one and say, look, you know, I'm having to take a hit on mine, and that was to make my numbers work for yours. So, you know, can you help with that? Is that something you could do as well? And I could buy yours. That's another way to do it. I've negotiated deals like that before. So speak to your agent, perhaps over a coffee, make it nice and calm, and maybe start to review the feedback from every viewing. Encourage total frankness. And you might not want to hear your house stinks, or you know, it's because I had it, and I talk about it all the time at Strathallan and Kirkcaldy, where I went around the house and they were wondering why the house was never selling, and I walked in and it's like the smell of dog just biffed me in the chops.
Yeah, that's a big one, dog smell.
It's like, oh my God, the whole house. And I went up to the furniture and I went up to the walls and the curtains and I sniffed them, and they were all dog. And I said, I said my nice polite one, do you want me to sugarcoat it, or do you want and go around the houses to get you to tell you, or do you just want me to give it to you straight? That's a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
And they said, no, give it to us straight. I said, your house stinks of dog. That's it.
Get
rid of the stinky dog. Get rid of the stinky dog, and you'll sell this, no bother. Do you know, within 3 weeks, they'd actually, that weekend, painting top to bottom, cleaned everything out, scrubbed it, spent all that time, worked day and night for that weekend, sold in 3 weeks.
See,
for the same price.
And that was the frankness of your conversation that obviously.
Yeah, I'm not there to make friends with people. I'm there to tell them what they need to do. Whether they want to listen to or not is an entirely different story. And if they don't want to listen, it's like, forget it. I'll
Yeah.
go and get somebody that will listen, and I'll deal with them then. I'm
Yeah.
not in the I'm not in the habit. You know, I can help most people, but I can't help stupid.
Yeah. And I think it's sometimes people can't take on the advice because it's maybe, do you know, they're maybe too emotional about it, or get, do you know, and that's no good if you're trying to sell your property.
Well, I don't really mean when I said that. Well, that statement, it wasn't aimed at people that are emotional about things. It's just like people that just don't want to
Don't
listen.
listen. Yeah.
It gets somebody round as a valued estate agent and actually completely dismiss their experience and expertise and give their own opinion and think that's right. And you're like, how long have you been in the market? How long have you been an estate agent? What knowledge do you have? Oh, I just work in the council. Know that people in the council, but you know what I mean? It's nothing to do with estate
No,
agency.
nothing to do with, yeah.
How would you know that? How would you know this market and what to do and how people are reacting, how people are all these different things? That's the difference. That is the difference you've got to understand. I like to be frank on these shows because if you're this is all about getting your house sold. You
Yeah.
need to open these and keep this. Use them in the same proportion, by the way. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's it in a nutshell. And everybody understands that. I understand that myself. But it needs to be quite straightforward. And
Yeah.
that's probably why people would tune into this. If you don't want to tune into this, then that's fine with me as well. I can go and sit on a beach and drink pina coladas for the rest of my life. I'd be more than happy to do that.
I'd imagine if you're watching this morning and you've read the title and listened to a wee bit, then you're here for a reason, and it's probably because you want to know how to get your property shifted, and this is the way to do it.
Ask your agent whether they've had any more thoughts about why you've not found a buyer, and if you only had a few viewings, is there some way in the way people are coming to take a look? You do get a lot of times where people actually just drive by the property and never actually contact you at all, because
Yeah.
you find that out later on. And people say you also have people that sit there waiting for the price maybe to change or for something to change. It fits in with their circumstances. They love the house, but they'll sit online, they'll not register, they'll not contact the agent, but they'll sit in the background. And I've had it before where they've come forward 6 months later and gone and says, I see that's reduced in price. I'm kind of ready now. I'm ready to buy. And I'm like, well, why did you not contact us 3 or 4 months ago? It's like, no, well, I wasn't ready at that point in time. So, there is a point of readiness for everybody. And again, if you really want to understand that in a simplistic view, it's bid up TV, where your price goes down, and then you get people jumping in at that price. That's it in a nutshell. I'm not saying your house is like that. I'm just saying that's a simplistic view of how that system works. Supply and demand and the pricing. If the price is too high, you'll get less demand. If the price is a lot lower, you'll get a huge amount of demand. If the price is just at the right one, you get just the right amount of people. It's quality rather than quantity you're after to a degree. Another one as well is, as we just touched on that, and we'll quickly finish that and go to the next subject, is check the similar homes. Maybe next door sold in the last month. We have had that where people have gone, next door sold, and how's mine no sold, and why didn't no come to see me? And it's like, I've no idea how that happened, but next door sold for X amount, you're on at X amount, and they were on a lot less than you, and you've both got exactly the same houses, because maybe I have had it in Garbridge.
Yeah.
Old St Andrews Road. 2 exactly the same houses. We listed ours, and another agent, another solicitor estate agent in St Andrews listed theirs. They listed theirs about 3 months before us. Then we put ours on, but we put ours on at more. And yet, work this one out. And yet we sold ours before them. I'm like, how is that possible? Surely the person that came round to look at our one then saw their board and thought, we'll have a look at theirs as well.
Yeah.
They never. But they paid more for ours than they did they never even looked at the other one. And yet they were both the same properties. I don't get it.
No, that's
We must have a great marketing strategy and a great negotiation skill that we're able to keep people engaged and actually not just blinkered rather than actually seeing everything else.
I was just going to say, it's all about keeping them engaged and not letting them obviously look elsewhere. And so they're obviously not interested in what's next door because they're showing.
Once you get the deal done and you accept a property, everybody starts switching off and think, I don't need to look for anything anymore. I've got my home. Even though there's something obvious next door or maybe just up the street, it could be better for them. They just miss it because it's the old thing about energy goes where, focus flows where energy goes.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it, really. So if they've not got any impetus or energy to do it anymore, the focus disappears. Done. So once you've got all the comments that you handle, make some notes, don't forget, and then take a couple of days to absorb everything you've heard, and then it's probably time to take some action. You're a master at this, Richard. I am rubbish at this, to be honest. Restyling, rearranging, redecorating.
Yeah.
What do we do?
It's similar to what you just explained about Strathallan Road there. I mean, if you're relaunching your home and then after it's been on the market, probably previously, or you've took it off, or you're changing agent or whatever, look at a fresh new look and feel and something that's going to help catch everyone's eye. And that includes buyers who might have otherwise probably scrolled past it before because maybe they've just not seen your listing for whatever reason. So yeah, inject some trend by purchasing some items that are really on trend, and then they can inject some colour and some new life into the rooms and the listing.
Yeah.
And whether that's swapping out cushions and throws and bedding and between rooms and just kind of switching up the look completely. Because if you're just going to leave it the exact same, it's just going to look like the previous listing or how you listed it before. So yeah, definitely switch that up and get it on trend, give it a fresh look. You don't need to break the bank doing it. It could just be a lick of paint and some new coverings and things on sofas or whatever. Just to give it that wee bit of an up-to-date, trendier look and give it a fresh look on the listing.
The painting and all the rest of it, and the instant, give it an instant pizzazz, I would say. Hide the scuffs, brighten the dark room, add a striking feature, possibly. Or freshen up. See, this is a really good one. Freshen up your front door.
Yeah, the front door.
It's amazing the amount of people that actually spend so much time getting their inside of their house right, and they look on the external, and they don't do anything about curb appeal. The garden looks overgrown, the weeds are on the path, the bins are out in the wrong place, they're all overflowing, and it just doesn't look great. It looks murky, muddy, and not inviting at all. And yet inside, wow. So you've managed to get them to take action out the marketing because they've seen the interior. So that's when they drive round and then they look at the house and they go, oh, is that the same house?
The same house, yeah.
Is that? Can you see in the windows? and sometimes you will catch, but I've known people just to actually drive round and say, see that view we had, just cancel it. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, it's like we didn't like the neighbourhood.
I drove past and it doesn't look great. And it's those initial things that catch your eye: the front door, the bins, the front garden looks a mess. Do you know, all these things that are going to put people off from the outset? But also,
I did mention briefly about we didn't like the neighbourhood, and then you really and please, if you're a seller, when you get told that, just take it on board. It's their personal opinion. The buyer is always right, remember, because it's the buyer's thought process. If the estate agents handle their objections properly, then they'll know the exact objection. Let me tell you about handling objections. Here's a classic example. I didn't like the neighbourhood. Okay. So apart from the neighbourhood, if it was in another area, would you have bought the property? Oh, well, we didn't like the size of the rooms. That comes next. So this is handling objections. This is how an estate agent should do it. Okay, so what about the rooms did you not like? The size? So what were you kind of looking for then, so I can get your buyer criteria correct? Because that's not the first impression we got when you register with us. So what sort of sizes are you looking for? Well, maybe that third bedroom was it was just too small for us. So all right, okay. So you want the third bedroom to be just as big as the other bedrooms then, is that it? And so if that is the case, would you buy it then? And like, well, it really didn't have a garage. I've had that before, where you're going around all the time. Would you have bought it if this had been sorted? Would you have bought it if this had been sorted? And you're almost 5 deep in excuses for want of a better thing. You may as well just say, my neighbour's got the lawnmower, until you come to the real excuse was we couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
We didn't feel it was value for money.
Yeah,
but they don't want to say that because they don't want to be rude. So the first thing that comes off their mind is something that's maybe not really relevant, and it's just to brush you off as an agent to get away with it. So so you have to drill deep to get the right reason why they're not going to buy it, and it could often be they can't really afford it because they've got to do extra stuff to it for themselves, but they thought they would come round and look at it. That is a skillful estate agent to get that, to get that right answer out of the buyer for the handling objections. Because if you don't handle objections properly, you can often go to the seller and say, well, this is the reason why, and they go, okay, I'll change the kitchen. So then they go and change the kitchen, and then still nobody comes round to buy it. Yeah. You just spent thousands to change a kitchen, and that wasn't the real reason. So that's why it's important to do that, to handle objections. Do you think it's worth moving the furniture around?
Yeah, I was just going to say we've covered this in a few shows, and I think internally, do you know, is it feng shui? But see, when you walk in a room and the furniture's all, do you know, it's higgledy-piggledy. There's too much in the room. There's not, do you know, sight lines to the windows. There's not clear pathways to walk through the room. It doesn't feel big and airy. It's quite closed in. Do you know, rearrange things, clear out things, and have a really good atmosphere in a room, and it will make all the difference for impressions when you're walking around.
You have a small room and you've got a big massive coffee table in the middle of it. And it's like, oh my goodness, and everyone has to squeeze past to get to the kitchen to have a look at the kitchen. It's like, that is not a great thing. Get rid of the coffee table and stick it in the garage or anywhere. Put it anywhere, in a cupboard or garage or wherever it can go, to make it a clean line of sight, especially towards windows, so you can see a lot of natural light coming as well, because it makes it feel bright and airy. And definitely. And it makes it feel inviting as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if you've got a good agent, and like we've just demonstrated earlier when we were talking about previous appointments, things, if you've got a good agent, they'll come round, they'll walk around, they'll be quite candid with you, they'll pick out the things that you need to address. But you could also have, if you've got quite upfront friends, family, have them round, get them to walk around and say, look, what do I need to do here? What puts you off? But if not, if you've got a good agent, they'll do it with you as well.
Yeah, you could, the friends and family thing is sometimes good. Sometimes it's not, because then you could easily fall out with them.
Easily.
And sometimes they maybe might not want to tell you the truth. Remember, we've all got different personality types, where I'm quite straightforward and I'll just deliver the bad news whether you like it or not. There's other people that's like, oh, I'm not really wanting to say that in case I offend them, even though you're going, yeah, definitely offend me, I want to know. And you're like, no, it's not their personality type, is it?
No, and people won't want to hurt your feelings, regardless of whether you're telling them to or not.
So the fresh pair of eyes is really just getting possibly the estate agent round again to have a look and say, look, has anything changed that you think, or should we update this situation to make it better overall, or should we be revising other things as well? But if your agent's proactive enough, I think probably that would be done anyway as part of their package to make sure. Just a review every probably, I don't know, 6 months. If it's been 6 months, a review of 6 months to make sure. Home reports last 3 months, but then you have to get refreshes after that. But you don't get them until you get a buyer.
To the point.
But maybe every 3 months is a possibility, strong possibility, because different times of the year produce different results. Because your garden's all in full bloom. Maybe that's the selling point. The garden is beautiful, and then suddenly 6 months later you go into winter and you don't see the garden. So therefore you just see the house, and all of a sudden it's like, well, the house isn't as great now because the garden isn't in full bloom and all the regalia in the garden, and it doesn't feel another living space because of the time of year it is. So there's different themes for different seasons, I would definitely say. So that fresh pair of eyes. This is inevitable. What happens if you decide it's time to switch agents? What should we be doing here, Richard?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if it comes around and you do decide to switch agents, you might not have sold your property in 2024, and there is still time to find a buyer. So it's worth digging a little deeper before you have another go, as I would say. Now, thinking about your agent's service and the communication and things that you've had so far with them, think about, how did they make you feel? did you feel valued? Did you feel informed by your agent, or did you feel kind of in the dark and a bit ignored? Do you know, they're the red flags you need to think about. If
I often think to myself, if your agents keep in touch with you, if your agents keep them up to date, if they're actually trying to tell you what you need to know and you're not listening, then they've done their job.
Yeah.
They've done their job, and suddenly blaming them and deserting them, I don't think that's very honourable, to be honest. I mean, they've put a lot of value into this. They've put a lot of effort into this. They spent a lot of money doing all this, all the rent, the staff, the light, the heat, the cost, the websites, everything. And people actually, and for a token gesture, which is sometimes just a small marketing fee at the beginning, I don't think that's very honourable at all. Just to say to an estate agent, it's like, oh well, I think I should just go with someone else, just like that. It's the only industry it's kind of got that attitude, isn't it? I should like, oh, if my house doesn't sell, it's your fault, and I shouldn't pay for any of that at all.
Yeah.
And the fact it's like, okay, but never mind the fact that you've been holding off taking our advice and you've not actually listened to a word we've said and taken it on board and actually agreed with us.
Yeah.
So whose fault's that?
Yeah, and I'm sure agents all over the country will have had that experience at some point.
Exactly. And all the agents, after what I've just said, will be going, yeah, brilliant, Jim. Give it to them.
Yeah, but I think
it's true. It's true, though. You get, I mean, again, we're not saying all the time, it's just once in a blue moon. You'll get people that will actually blame you. And it's like, oh my God, I've been working day and night and we've been putting this out to thousands of people. It's like, unless we drag somebody off the street and force them, and it's like, I'm going to flipping do you if you didn't buy it, then how is that possible? Especially if you're not taking their advice. You shouldn't be blaming an estate agent if you're not taking their advice. That is completely wrong, as far as I'm concerned.
And I think if you've got any question in your mind about your current agent and things, go to them and ask, do you know, what's your ideas for, do you know, what's your campaign for
2025? What we're going to do?
See how much energy and enthusiasm they are. Are they driven enough? Do they give you that confidence? And see how if you still feel that they are credible enough to kind of find you a buyer and take their advice.
Yeah, you can't help things. I tell you classic examples right now for maybe people that have had holiday homes. They're trying to get them sold, and literally the market's dried up for it. Although there's an agent in 100 going around saying we've got lots of buyers for holiday homes and second homes, and I'm like, where about? It's like, I think you're a bit delusional here. The Scottish government's paid rest to that. You know, they basically brought in legislation that's totally anti-second homeowners, because they think that's the problem. It's really the fact that they've never built enough housing, or even affordable and social housing over the years, and it's coming home to roost, and they're pointing the finger at everybody else. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's like, it's their fault. But unfortunately, they've put this legislation in place, and second homeowners are getting nailed for 200% council tax, and they're also getting nailed for having, if you're serviced accommodation, you've got to have a license now. So you've got to jump through another hoop. It costs money and effort to do, and quite a few second homeowners are coming onto the market and saturating the market with second homes. So making it, and it's great because first-time buyers will never be able to afford them. By the way. No, first-time buyers can't afford these. They're 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, 600,000, 700,000. Some of these homes, but it's making it difficult because you're saturating the market all at the same time. So you're competing against other people, and that's why it's important to make sure that. So I think it's very rare just now that you'll get a second home owner to buy just now. I think if anybody's going to buy, it'll be somebody as a family to move into a home or relocate here to wherever it is to move into a home. I think that's where the market is just now. And it's catching that audience. It's getting a wider reach into the London market, the Edinburgh market, the Glasgow market, Perth, Dundee, where people see it as an attractive proposition to move to whatever area that is. Makes it more affordable for them.
Yeah,
especially with and as well pointing out the benefits of, if you work from home, why on earth are you living in London?
Yeah, or the city where it's
Why would you
extortionate.
pay? Why are you paying £1 million for a 2-bedroom flat, a studio flat at the top of Little Venice or something like that? If you could have the same flat in Edinburgh, even, or Glasgow for a lot less, and work remotely, and you've still got easy access through the airports or through the train
Train line, yeah.
to go down into work whenever you want, because remote working is here to stay, and the pandemic proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt that everybody could do that if they want to. There has to be an impetus to do it. The only reason that people are getting forced back in offices because employers are actually paying for these offices and they're sitting empty doing nothing,
Yeah.
and they need them back in. And pension funds need people to keep in these offices, and it just so happens the employers that are actually getting these offices are the pension funds.
Yeah.
So they need to keep these offices, keep the pension funds going.
Yeah.
It's all interlinked, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why. So this is why I have no idea how we got to that. We were talking about remote working, weren't we? As a benefit, but then it's also the talk up, the videos.
Yes.
What is your agent doing? What are they doing? What market they're reaching? What heartstrings are they pulling on that person at the other end of that, at the end of the screen? You know what, when they're on here, when they're on their phone, because they spend hours, 3 and 4 hours on their phone. I mean, you know what it's like when you get locked into Reels and TikTok and stuff, and it's like, oh my God, you can never get out. It's like you're constantly pressing this back button, and it keeps coming up with another one. It's like, let me out.
Yeah, I know.
So you know what it's like, but then you've got a golden opportunity for the adverts in between. So what is your agent doing? Are they going, wait till you see this house, or are they just going, ding, 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 ding? A version of Greensleeves playing in the background while a camera goes round looking at the house. I just think of the music on hold it used to get on the telephone all the time with the councils and that. It's Greensleeves on the piano getting played. That's kind of how I look at it. It's a silent movie. It's really no good to anyone.
No.
Customer, seller feels great about it because they know everything there is to know about their home anyway and the surroundings. The buyer doesn't have a clue about your home.
It's not really showcasing it properly.
Yeah, it's no showing anything. It's no telling people why you want to live there. This is why you want to consider buying this house right now, because this is God's country.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that beach. Yeah. Look at that golf course. Look at that train station. Look at that school. The ratings at the school, how high they are. Look at this village life that you've got. Look at this coastal path that you are. Look at that beautiful sea it overlooks towards wherever it is, whether it's to Fife or from Fife or wherever that is. All these different things. No one can put that in writing, really. And they can't put it really in a photograph. They try, but I'll be honest, it's the only way I think a video, if a photograph speaks 1,000 words, I think a video does it all to infinity. A talk-up video, a talking pictures movie, that's what makes a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the fundamental difference. I definitely think video has got to be in there somewhere. If your agent's not talking about doing talk-up videos and that now, I think you're just going to have the same old, especially if you go to the next place. I think it's just going to be like that again. What are they going to do? We'll take new photographs, we'll do the descriptions, we'll do the same measurements, we'll put them on the same websites, and we'll hope for the best again.
Just be the same listing again.
Oh, I tell you what, can you reduce your price?
That's the difference, sorry, yeah.
That's the difference when you go to the next agent. Can you reduce your price? The thing that you refuse to do with your existing agent, more than likely.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a kick in the teeth for the existing agent, though, isn't it? Especially if they were telling them to do it.
If
and the fact that they spend all the time and effort, and then somebody else takes the glory. With no guts or just the glory. They've not made any effort at all. They've just put it on a lower price, and they've got it. They've got it sold. I think that's. I don't think that's honourable to do. Yeah. But if you feel you've run out of steam, start of the year is perfect time to switch to someone new, I would say. Perhaps your original second choice might be there, or to an agent you haven't spoken to yet. I tell you, when somebody's come to me, again, once in a blue moon, and says, oh, I want to switch, I'll tell them who to switch to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell them who to switch to, and I'll tell them why.
Because it suits what their expectations better.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna not. I'm not gonna tell you because you're leaving me. It's like,
No.
hey, if you're not gonna listen to me, I'm really not interested in spending any more time in this conversation. I'll tell you who to go to next, though, so
Yeah.
you know who you should be. At least you'll probably get a better chance of getting your house sold than actually picking somebody that's maybe online or just started up yesterday.
Yeah.
All these different things. I definitely think that. So for that thing, we've got it in this post. If you click on the link above or below here to here, we've got a really good blog about changing estate agents and how it could be a fresh start to getting your home sold. So that is in this blog
The
on
link's
here
in
as
there.
well.
Yeah.
So as well as what we're talking about just now, we've also got that in there.
Yeah.
What about whether you're staying with your original agent or going to someone new, refreshing your marketing? What do you think?
You
How
were
should we go
kind of
about that?
touching on it there with video and how to do it differently when another agent comes on along, rather than just doing the whole thing the same again. Refreshing your marketing and things. Get new professional quality photography that really shows your maybe newly styled rooms, like we just spoke about, obviously making these changes and things. Showcase that properly. Have a mix of, they'll do a professional photographer does a lot different than an agent on their own camera phone or their camera. They've got wide angle lenses, they've got close up shots, they've got highlight the standout features and things. Whether you've got picture windows or fireplaces or log burners and things, they'll make sure that's all included. Alongside obviously video and the video talk up and things
We've
as well.
got our ones actually use drones now as well.
Yeah,
So they
the
use
drones.
drones for the aerial
Yeah.
shots and stuff like that. But we've got a specific drone photographer, a drone pilot that does video content for the area. But I also have a drone as well. I've got a couple of drones now. I've got one that follows me around the property at the same time. And then I've also got one that actually will be up in the air and take different angles from different
Yeah.
shots, depending on how I do it. And then the great thing is I can see in the moment, you see, because I've got the right screen, and I can see in the moment exactly what that shot's going to look like when it's going to appear on the website. And I think, wow, that is the shot I need.
That's what's going to catch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no easy to get that, especially if you're passing that on to someone else to do. But we have really good photographers for that reason, and we stick with them because they know what we want, and so we're like-minded in terms of our approach. We're quite dogged about getting the perfect photograph. I'll go back. I've been back several times, sometimes just to think. I'm just not quite right, but I tell you what, it's a fantastic day, and it's the right time of day. The sun's in the right place, and the clouds in the sky are beautiful. The sea is dead calm, or a pond or a loch in the background is dead calm, or the golf course you can see now because the clouds, it's not overcast anymore. All these different things will make a fundamental difference overall. If you're in a housing estate, fair enough, we can change the skies and that automatically with AI. It can do that, but sometimes it's just, I don't know, it's just the moment. It's just what you catch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been Baltic so far, and it's down at -5 degrees. But I tell you what, when the sun comes out just now, the video looks great.
It looks crisp and clear. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it looks like, wait a minute, it's sunshine, it's summertime. The only thing that gives it away is all the Willies that are on. Welcome to pre-portal.
I think as well, we talk a lot about video, but like you're just explaining there, Jim, pictures and descriptions, of course, have their place in the listing, but they need to be done correctly. Pictures need to be done by the right photographer and catch the right essence and things. And it's the same with your descriptions. Have a review of your description and ensure that captures the real essence of the property, paying particular attention to not even just the first paragraph, but that first line as you come in, and whether you're highlighting the main features of the property or possibly the area. Then afterwards, bold wording and things as well, and capitals and that.
You've got to watch. You don't go too far in capitals. Yeah, if you go too far with capitals, you get downgraded by all the websites because they think you're actually trying to advertise, and they're not getting any money out of it, so they're upset, so they downgrade you. If you put a really good high quality content video which will engage an audience and people actually stay on it, they love that and they push out even more. And do you know why? Because right at the bottom they put their adverts.
Yeah.
And they're getting paid for those adverts every time you're running. So if you've got a video everybody loves, everybody watches. I mean, I put a video on, I think it's at 25,000 views so far. I've not sponsored it. I've just put it on.
Yeah.
25,000 views so far, 365 shares, and and they must love it, because they'll be getting lots and lots of people watching it, and they'll be getting adverts coming up the bottom. You can't get that with a photograph. That's why they want you to do video all the time, for the socials and also for Google, because they can get more money out of you running a video, because there's more adverts that can be shown on that.
Yeah.
So if you've got somebody that's got that creative content and that creative approach to it, it will keep people hanging on and engaged with the video. Then all the algorithms on the websites and that will push you out more and more and more, and more people will see your property as a result of it.
Let's round up then and talk about, exploring that new pricing strategy, and whether that's up or whether it's down, or could that put you in front of more people by using the price search banding correctly, and the portals more effectively? That's a thing that people don't really understand and grasp properly, as price realignment.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, especially what type of in the boom market. You can go for broke. You can put your house on, and but you put your house on, you put it out the maximum amount you could get on the home report, which is the maximum. You put it on for that. You make sure it's a 10,000 banding, by the way, or a banding on the website. For example, everything, the websites go up when you go to 400,000. You jump in 25,000 marks. Yep. So if you've got a property that's at 430 for the home report, you probably want to put it on at 425, because you'll get everybody up to searching 425, and you'll get everybody from 425. The great thing, but if you're at 430, you'll get no one will see you up to 425, and everybody from 425 will see you onwards. But if you put 425, you'll get two sides of that audience. So that's the important thing to think about. You've also got the other one as well, is maybe you're top heavy. In other words, your home report maybe comes in at, I don't know, 620,000. You kind of think that's a pricey mark, especially for affordability. You're not going to attract a huge audience, because everybody more or less will probably go up to 600,000, and it starts to peter off quite quickly. Your buyer market dwindles dramatically from 600,000 onwards. It used to be 500,000 onwards, but 600,000 onwards. So I would actually encourage, rather than do 600, I would say to somebody, look, probably I would go in at 595. So see, there's a different strategy there, because most people, if they're going, they'll be up to 600. They'll not go forward from 600. So you've got, it's that balance of supply and demand. How many are you going to miss out, and how many are you going to catch by having the right pricing strategy? And when you're down at 100,000, I put it on 100,000. Don't put it on at 900. Don't put it on at 99,999 quid. I've seen that. Yeah, it's like £1 less. It's like, are you nuts? You've just missed everybody from 100,000 upwards, where it was the most attractive property there, because it was the lowest price out of everybody, because it was 100,000 onwards. You would have been the lowest out of that. That's a golden opportunity to sell. And yet they've missed everybody because they put it at 50 quid less or 500 quid less. It's the Willies mentality. 9.99.
99p.
Oh, 9.99. It's but it's £1. It's like, I'm not going to pay £1. I'll pay 99 pence though. When you're talking about a property, 50 quid and 500 quid's not going to make that much difference if you're buying something for 100 and 200,000.
Yeah.
But it does make a difference on the portals, because that's how they operate. It's like asking them to do something completely different from what they're geared to do. They're just algorithms and programs. You tell them what you want, and they deliver what it is you're wanting. So if you don't tell them the right thing, you're gonna get the wrong thing out. Yeah. That's exactly garbage in, garbage out. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
So pricing strategy is really good to get it. And your online advert is the first thing that most buyers will see. And your best chance of getting them to stop, click, and book will come through review, to ensure everything pops. Pre-portal.
Yeah.
2 things on a pre-portal. As soon as it goes on social media, you're seeing it here exclusively on social media first. 5 days before it goes to a website. You can have it before everyone else, because you're watching our social media channels. You must be, though, in a position to proceed and make the seller an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah.
The 2 buyers. It's like, if you can do that, contact us now. You get people contacting, and you go, I know you're in a position to proceed because you're contacting me. And I know you'll probably make the seller an offer they can't refuse, because that's what I've just said to you. I've given you a call to action. You followed it, so I know you're probably in that position to do that. That's what drives that price, because it's also FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I might miss this one. It'll go to the websites. Everybody else will see it.
The websites,
and I'll miss out on it.
Yeah.
Golden opportunity to get that a wee bit extra for that seller. Now, let me give an example. When you say, "Oh well, but I'll sell anyway," okay. For anybody out there right now, your existing house that you live in, when you went to buy that, answer me this question. When you went to buy that existing house that you're sitting in right now, that you're about to sell, you're thinking about selling, when you bought that house, would you have paid a wee bit more for the house? Maybe another £500, £1,000, £2,000, £3,000. If somebody wanted another £5,000 for that house or that, would you have paid it? If the answer to any of that is even 500,000 or anything like that, if the answer to that is yes, then that agent left money on the table for their existing seller, and you as a buyer capitalized on that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the agent you should go back to?
No.
No.
Then they're not going to do the same for you when you're,
It tells you everything about their negotiation skills. So ask that every single time. If you're selling your house, when you bought the house, would you have paid more for it from the existing agent you bought it from? If the answer to that is yes, you need to stay clear of them then. They surely haven't got the right strategy and negotiation at the end. Because it's not just about marketing, it's about strategy at the end, about how you negotiate with the buyer on behalf of your seller. How you can push them up a bit more, how you qualify them to be able to understand what their needs is and what the buttons you need to push in order to drive that price at the end for you. Because everybody buys on emotion. They don't buy logically. If everybody bought logically, we'd all be driving the same car and it would be the cheapest.
Yeah.
We'd all be living in the same house, in the same style of house, and it would be the cheapest. If everybody bought logically. No one buys logically. It's very rare. It's all down to the heart.
Yeah, how you feel. Yeah,
Rules ahead straight away. Oh, I love it. Look at the sea. Look at what's round about here. Look at the cafes. Look where everything is. Look how close it is to the train station. Look how close it is to the golf. Oh, you love golf, don't you? Yeah, I love golf. Yeah, look, you can just walk out and put the golf. You can pop in for open water swimming as well. All these different things. You can get into the city centre on the tube. Edinburgh, Glasgow. Easy commuting right into there. We can get in, we can get our stuff done. You can go to work and you can get back quickly at night. All these different things. That's what drives desirability, nothing else. And desirability is driven by emotion.
By emotion, yeah.
And that is what pushes price up at the end in people's minds.
Yeah.
Okay, coming on the show, Richard.
Yeah.
Last thing, what's the final thought for you on the one thing out of this that you would give people advice on?
I think if you're at that point where you are looking to, you're having questions about your current agent, I think speak to them. Speak to them and see what their approach is. If you're still not convinced, speak to another agent and see how that differs. If you want to speak to either myself or Jim or one of the team, then our contact details are attached to this, and you could always touch base with us and get some feedback on what we spoke about today.
Great advice. I would say that as well. Speak to your existing agent.
Yeah.
Have a honest conversation with them, but don't go on all guns blazing.
No.
There's a lot of things that you'll not know that they've been doing in the background. Let them explain all these things that they've been doing first. Don't go with an agenda. Just go down and sit with them, a cup of coffee. Just explain to them. Phone them up. Don't put them under pressure. Don't make them worry. Just say, look, we want to review our strategy for our property for 2025. Just to see if we're doing everything right. Just to see if everything's in the right way. Is there any time I can get some time in your diary and we'll just go over it again.
And have a chat.
Make it easy for yourself, definitely. As I said, it's not about going in all guns blazing, because sometimes they change. I mean, they might have somebody almost lined up, and the next minute you jump ship and go somewhere else, and you start all over again.
And you've just missed that one.
You've just missed it. Oh, but they'll come to me.
Because you jumped.
Remember the one about old St Andrews Road?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I put mine on after at a higher price, the exact same property, and I sold mine before the other one. Just shows you.
Yeah.
Just shows you. Okay, thanks for coming on the show, Richard. If anybody's got any more questions, I know there's a lot of comments in here, and we will jump on. I'll jump on the social media channels and I'll answer them just after this. And until next time, guys, we'll see you on next week's Saturday show. And bye-bye for now.
See you later, Jim.